Well, in a world where collaboration and talking and working together seems to be going out the window, it was a great delight to see the information come through about the fact that BIGGA and GroundsFest were getting together. Wonderful news. And I'm lucky enough to have the two main protagonists, Jim Croxton from BIGGA and Chris Bassett from GroundsFest here. So, gentlemen, congratulations. Well done for doing something that the rest of the world don't seem to be able to do at the moment. Um, can you just, I'll start with you, Jim. Can you just tell us what this collaboration will bring to BIGGA?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Scott. And what a nice intro. I hadn't thought about placing our little relationship here in the context of geopolitical matters, but I think I get your drift. Yeah, we're pretty excited about this, and as you know, you're if anybody knows anything about BIGGA, Scott, it's you with your background with us and your pretty much unbroken attendance at BTME, for example. And we feel like we're in a pretty good position right now at BIGGA, that there are still challenges ahead for our membership and the golf industry, and of course the world, as you've hinted. But we've had a couple of really, really good editions of BTME in the last couple of years, which we're very proud of. But they're not perfect. There are things we can do to try and to improve it even further. We've got a pretty full roster in terms of exhibitors, and our conference goes from strength to strength. But we always feel we can do a little bit more on attendance, particularly in a couple of the quieter spells of our show. So we've been discussing matters with turf matters, I guess, with the two Chris's at GroundsFest over the last couple of years. We've watched their journey with a lot of interest. I've attended both of their events, and just felt that the two events were incredibly complementary, an indoors and outdoors, a kind of a summer, a winter. But in both cases, each event has a particular audience that isn't currently overburdening the other. So it seemed an obvious thing to have a conversation. We had that conversation, and we feel there's some common ground that where we can, I mean, it's a old cliche, but I'm getting good at cliches, but it's a win-win. You know, we can, if we can attract some of GroundsFest's sort of core audience to come and enjoy the delights of Harrogate, if I can encourage some of our members to come and enjoy the delights of Stony Park, then I think we get the best of both worlds. So, and alongside that, we also feel that, there have been many calls over the years for our broader industry, the kind of, the outdoor land management industry, to work more closely together. We've tried a few different things over the years, but this seems a good opportunity to try and bring a couple of areas together.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, from your perspective, I know you've talked about your long-term ambitions for GroundsFest and long-term strategies. Where does this collaboration fit into that, and does it actually put you ahead of schedule?
Yeah, I think we're on schedule to what we set out. Obviously, as you know, this year in September it's only our third ever edition. I think we've come a long way since the hurricane in year one that we had on site, that I still have nightmares about. But obviously we're working with other associations in partnership, people like Barley, the APL, the API, etc. And BIGGA was a natural fit.
Mm-hmm. And back to you, Jim. As Chris said, GroundsFest has only been around a couple of editions. What have your impressions been of GroundsFest, and what's particularly impressed you by the show and the way it was put together?
Well, I think I paid Chris a bit of a compliment when we had a meeting a few weeks ago, when I said I was genuinely impressed. I'm an events guy. I mean, you know me, Scott. I came from events in the golf world before I came to BIGGA. It's events that really kind of float my boat, and I wasn't expecting the first GroundsFest edition to be as kind of professionally staged, as really professionally branded, and really well put together. I thought the guys did a brilliant job of putting together an event from scratch. I've done that in the past, and I know it's not easy. So I felt that that the event's been sort of really popular, really well put together from the word go. But what really struck me, the thing that everybody says to us in Harrogate, particularly people that come from warmer climes, our overseas visitors when they're in Harrogate, for example, that the one thing you can't do when we're at BTME is get yourself out in the open air, and our audience is an open air group of people. You know, they just love being outside. And so the couple of events we've been to, it's been brilliant to see people just outdoors, chewing the fat, getting their hands onto machinery and products, and having that experience, which, you know, we know our members love. We know that the broader audience loves. And so coming together in this way means that we can hopefully get the kind of best of both worlds.
And Chris, how will we see BIGGA represented at Stoneleigh? What will the visibility be, and how will we see that they're there?
Well, I think we're still sort of crossing the T's and dotting the I's on that for a final sort of look. But I think the visitors will be able to see a range of education opportunities within the seminar theatres. BIGGA will also have a presence on the show floor as well, and obviously the team from BIGGA will be out and about, speaking to exhibitors, speaking to visitors at the show, and just sort of engaging with them in that way, really. I mean, obviously we're key that this isn't just a message to be able to sort of drive more people to both shows, that there's more initiatives that are going to be running throughout the year from an education point of view as well. So we see this as a very important collaboration, that we've both got shared interests in supporting not just the golf community or the landscaping community, but the whole industry as a whole.
It's more or less the same question to you, Jim. How do you see the outside of the two shows? How do you see that relationship developing and benefiting the industry as a whole?
Well, sorry, just to labour on the show specifically just for a moment, but it's relevant. The first day of GroundsFest this year in September is actually the same day as Thank a Greenkeeper Day. So putting the two together is quite a nice, neat thing, and the opportunity for us to be outside and in amongst our members on that day will be really quite useful. But our priorities right now, Scott, we've talked about this over the years. You know, our job, if you like, is to try and make the world a better place for greenkeepers. You know, that's what we're aimed at. That's what our members want us to do. Our event is a really big part of that, but our ongoing activities year round are also really important. A huge part of that is visibility. You know, we've got to have you know, more visibility for the job our members do, more opportunities to shout about what we do. This provides us with that. Another key area is workforce. You know, in all of the industries, not just greenkeeping, all the industries that we work with and serve, there is a labour crisis in terms of bringing people in and keeping people into these industries. So one of the things that we're discussing, you know, really closely with the GroundsFest guys is to try and look at workforce initiatives, driving people into these industries. We're doing, I think, a great job with activities like our first green. We're looking to try and do some things like that with GroundsFest as we go through the year to try and just attract people to this outdoor industry.
Mm-hmm. Chris, BIGGA is a much bigger, more established organisation than GroundsFest. Do you feel you can be an equal partner? Do you feel you can contribute fully, given that you're a smaller organisation, a newer organisation than BIGGA, which has been around since the mid-80s? Yeah,
I mean, we're still, as you know, we're still in the third year of GroundsFest as a whole. But as you're probably aware, it's not just me or other Chris involved in the company. There's a fair few of us now. We've worked in the industry, or me specifically, has worked in the industry for over 20 years now. So we've got a lot of industry knowledge, contacts, etc. But I'd like to think that we're able to pull our weight and do what we need to do as well.
Mm-hmm. And Jim, from a wider perspective, how these sorts of collaborations, obviously it's a stupid question, I suppose, but obviously the industry will benefit as a whole when people talk more often and get together and have collaborations and partnerships like this.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while, but you know, when I started, and it's been a long while, it seems, since I joined BIGGA, but we occasionally come across a little bit of them and us, and you know, and that being between, for example, greenkeepers and people managing sports turf, or people working in landscaping or lawn care, whatever it may be, and to me, that's the wrong them and us. You know, we're all in this together. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to manage land for a purpose, whatever that may be. And if there is to be a them and us, it's to be between our our broader industry and those that have an influence on it. And I think this is that opportunity to present the sort of louder message and to a broader message about the importance of the work that our members do, the work that visitors to GroundsFest do. And we've all got our own individual initiatives. You know, as I say, we thank a greenkeeper as an example, and a lot of work we do obviously within golf. But we've got to in the public's eyes, I think, and maybe even more so at a time of international strife, got to try and get back to basics as to what's important in life, you know, and the happy use of the land and the sustainable management of our land and all those things are absolutely critical. So yeah, collaboration, it's not the only collaboration we have. We're working really closely within our own golf industry, more closely than I think we've ever done before. And it's certainly my position, you know, whether the organization we collaborate with is small or large, in reference to your question, you know, we need to work with partners. You know, I'm a golf person. Golf is a much better game when you play with somebody else, you know, and I think business is the same. When you're working with somebody, you've got a partner marking your card, I think you've got a much better chance.
And just to finally, Chris, this is one initiative that we're going to be seeing at this year's GroundsFest. What else have you got lined up for us I'm trying to say, is it September? I can't remember the month. September? No, yes, September.
Well, I think this time in 10 weeks' time, it will all be over and we'll be packing up for hopefully another good edition.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've got a bit of nice weather this year as well, which would be a nice change. But yeah, obviously you've seen the announcement with a new feature that we made a couple of weeks ago on the lawnmower racing, which we're quite excited about.
See, somebody was very excited about it.
But it's just part of that to bring people together and enjoy a good day out, really, and networking, see some new products. Obviously, demos are a key part of obviously what you do, what we do, as you're aware. There'll be lots of product launches there from companies within the market. I think at the last count we were just over 70 additional exhibitors compared to last year. So we're about 30% bigger in our floor plan than we were. Obviously, 2 outdoor halls, 1 dedicated specifically to landscaping. There's going to be a lot to see and do over 2 days on the 9th and 10th of September.
Wonderful. Well, I know it's a busy time for you with only 10 weeks to go. And I would imagine, Jim, you're off to Portrush next week or the week after? Are you going to?
Yep. Yeah, looking forward to that. It doesn't seem long. It's only 2019. We were there before, an incredible edition of the Open Championship. This time around, it's quite interesting for us. We've got a new initiative this year with the RNA. The old Open support team, which you'll know and remember, Scott, is no more. The raking's going back in the hands of the caddies. We'll see whether that works or doesn't. But we've got a really interesting initiative this year with the RNA. We've had 10 of our members working with them throughout the season on all of their key championships, the Amateur, the Women's Open, the Senior Open, and of course Portrush. So our group of delegates are getting together in Portrush for a couple of days, getting some interesting behind the scenes views of things. And as usual, as again you'll know from your past, it's a really big week for BIGGA. It's one of those events where we can sit down with the great and the good of the wider golf industry and really try and push our message. So looking forward to Portrush as ever.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much both for your time, and good luck with the initiative. I think it's obviously, as I said at the very beginning, working together can only be a good thing. So I look forward to seeing you there in September. Thank you.
Thanks,
Scott. Much appreciated.